So, we were asked to share our most influential moment in our lives, at least ones that we were willing to share. The truth is that I have several influential moments in my life, from my parents' divorce to getting my first job to the death of my grandmother and how my family handled that, an unfortunate boyfriend and that toxic relationship, to the marriage of my older sister and later my older brother. All of these events have had a significant impact on my life and my development. However, all of these events either cannot be backed by research to prove their impact or are something that I don't feel the need to share with my cohort. The moment I have chosen to share is when I first got a cell phone. In 7th grade, I begged my mother for a phone. I gave her all the evidence of how I needed to be able to contact her after school, or how it would help so that I didn't have to borrow her phone all the time or borrow my brother's phone. And that always turned into a fight because he was my older brother. He certainly didn't want me to have his phone. Eventually, she caved around my 12th birthday. I started immediately texting my friends and this guy I liked in my class. We never called each other to talk, or we never called each other to talk. It was purely text. If we called each other, then our parents could overhear the conversation. It wasn't like we were doing anything bad. It was just that we wanted to have that independence, and no, mom and dad can't hear. It's our secret. This eventually led to continuously texting that guy and my other friends instead of having a real conversation with any of them. The same went for my other friends. Nobody called anybody. We all texted each other. Over time, this type of behavior became the norm for all of us. That was the norm, texting, never calling. Talking in person was nearly as taboo as walking to school in the snow, uphill both ways. It just wasn't reality. By the time I became a full-fledged adult, I was unable to communicate with someone unless we started out online. Sure, I had friends, but finding that true companionship was not something I did organically, meaning I didn't meet that person in person. And if I did, it was a very quick conversation in class or hanging out with some other friends, something. And then we would Facebook stalk. And then eventually text. Then came the smartphone and all of their fun little apps. I was so unprepared for social interaction that without Plenty of Fish, Tinder, Zeus, those apps, I had no idea, no clue how to date or get a date. After years of solely finding that companionship online, I've finally gotten to the point in my life that I'm able to make friends in real life. Talking to my classmates and my best friend I still have from high school, and finding out that companionship and communication, especially with my boyfriend now, it is so important to be able to talk in person with them. There's only so much you can say in text message. You're not going to get that deep relationship. But I digress. So now on to the research. Vidales and Sadaba, butchering their names, stated that their objection of their study was to understand how mobile phones influence communication mechanisms within adolescent social settings, as well as how it differs from face-to-face interactions. So they talked about social capita as being different ways people connect online, whether it was through social media or through texting, anything that was not in person. Now, they specified different levels of social capita in their article. um, but the one that struck me was what they referred to as maintained social capita, and it referred to weak links that people sustain when they are physically apart and allow for relationships to continue despite the distance. So this struck me because when I was a teenager, I would go to ROTC camps throughout the summer and school breaks and stuff. It was leadership camps on college campuses. And several different schools all over the state and nation, some of them, would be getting together to build leadership and connection and all of that with all of the ROTC programs across whatever their gambit was. Now, during the few days that each one of these camps were, there was kind of this unspoken competition between at least the people in my school that went of how many Facebook friends can you get while you're here. And several of these communications I would have for a couple of years. I would add them on Facebook and we would stay friends. And then a couple years would go by and I realized that I had no idea who these people were. I had never had a conversation with them after that weekend. But we stayed connected in that maintained social capita. And there was no reason for me to keep them there. I wasn't communicating with them, but it boosted how many friends I had on social media. So I eventually deleted them, cleaned them out. There was no point. And I got to the point that I quit adding people just to have more friends. But that took time. So their study summed up found that it is easier for teens to remain friends on social media and other not in person types of communication because they require little to no maintenance. And in turn, this means that being friends with people in person is harder because it requires effort. And it becomes less desirable. So teens are not maintaining those in-person organic relationships. They are staying online a lot more. So Lepp and Barley, on the other hand, specifically explored the effects social media and cell phone use has on peer attachment styles. And surprisingly, they found that males calling and texting, total cell phone use was not related to attachment. However, problematic cell phone use was negatively related to attachment, whereas female calling was positive related to parent attachment. So the more you talk to your parents on the phone when you're away at college, better your attachment to them. Shocker. However, females texting was positive related to peer attachment. We connect better through texting our friends, apparently. And females' problematic cell phone use was negative related to attachment. So when they referred to problematic cell phone use, both in male and female, they were saying cell phone use as the recurrent craving to use a cell phone. They measured this by asking how often the college students, because it was done on a group of college students, how often they looked at their phones in class, in bed before falling asleep, studying, and out with their friends, those kinds of activities. Cooper, on the other hand, looked at both the positive and negative effects that smartphones have on my generation. He directly quoted one male and one female in their 20s about their takes on their smartphones, and this is what they had to say. I'm always on the internet. I love using the application for the map option on my phone, and I cannot see myself going back to any other mobile phone now. She has to have a smartphone. This was a 23-year-old female. 26-year-old male Did go on to say that he preferred having a smartphone, especially for directions, because it helped him remain manly. He didn't have to ask for directions, which would apparently question his masculinity, according to this man. Just the guy that he quoted, not every man. So I did requote these individuals because while there is a lot to unpack there, I know I'm running low on time, so I am going to go ahead and move forward. I included this article because I wanted to express that I do see the positives in cell phones and mobile phone use. I do stay connected to work, but only on work hours. I do have a separate work phone. And as you can see, it's definitely off right now because I'm at home. And it does allow me to have that separation between work and personal life. My personal phone, however, I do carry with me to work because I do use it for a GPS to get to my client's house and to access their contact information so I can call them and let them know I'm coming out. If my work laptop is dying, or my MiFi is dying, I will use it for Signal so that I can put case notes in on my laptop. I see the benefits of having a mobile device, having a smartphone. However, I do want to give the caveat of using it too much, overusing it, becoming reliant on the device and not the people and environment around you can be dangerous. I grew up with cell phones as a part of my friends and my own daily life. Getting my first flip phone, which is very much like my work phone now, has influenced me in both good ways and bad ways, particularly in the ways of social communication. Thank you very much.